So if I select that I want a cluster, what I'm essentially telling the CSSPS Secretariat and the software is that if I do not get Konongo Odumase as my second choice, they should look within schools that have similar strength and similar strength in terms of subscription, in terms of the category as Konongo Odumase and place me there.
All right.
This is also something that we brought on board. Again, this year we are also looking at adding about 5 STEM schools. And these are newly built science, technology, engineering, and maths secondary schools. These are schools that is going to offer only STEM related programs and give opportunity to candidates or the students for STEM career pathway or career pathways in STEM. Again, we are also adding quite a number of schools to the Tvet space. You know, Tvet, that is a technical vocational educational training. This time around, we are increasing the number to about 212 schools. Last year, if you look at the subscription rate to the Tvet schools, you have about 40,000 students that subscribe to Tvet. So what it means is that you, the media, you are really helping us. I mean, currently, people's perspective on vocational and technical education is quite changing. And if you look at a subscription rate of over 40,000 last year, the expectation is that this year it will also be higher than that.
Right, okay. So this issue of the various criteria that is used, because those who subscribe for certain schools are usually more than the vacancies that exist.
Yeah.
This mode of selection, is it manually done, where you say, for example, if you have 400 students but there are 200 vacancies, then beyond the grades, we begin to whittle it down. So if we look at the raw scores and we see that cuts the number, then we take some off. And then if we look at in terms of residency, then we, you know, that whole process, how is it done? Is it keyed into the system, or people sit behind the machines to do that manually? Okay,
so if you look at the subscription rate vis-a-vis the vacancies declared, at every time the vacancies are really more than even the subscription rate. Except to say that if you look at the model that we practice in Ghana,
the vacancies are more than the subscription, or the other way?
No, the vacancies are actually more than the subscription.
Okay.
But it's because of the model of placement and selection regime that we practice in Ghana that makes it appear so, where students have an option to select a school of their choice, and if they qualify in the space, you have to put them there. So at the end of the day, you have the category A schools being overly subscribed than the vacancies. But
okay, so the vacancies here, you're talking about generally.
Generally.
Okay.
But in raw fact, you realize that there are a lot of other vacancies. For instance, I will use the school in my own hometown, my district, for instance, or at every point there are a lot of vacancies that are not even taken up by students. But of course, you compare or remind to say Presbyterian boys. I mean, Presbyterian boys will be having more subscription place. Once a candidate or a student is eligible to be placed in the school of choice, then such a student must be placed. But like I said, first of all, you have to look at some variables before you place such a student or such a candidate. First of all, you are having to look at the number of ones that a student had.
Okay.
That is the first criteria.
No, I know you've explained that. I'm only asking how that system is put in place. Yeah. Is that selection process done by individuals, or is keyed into the software, and the software has a way of, you know,
making all in terms of the selection process is done by the students. It is the placement process, probably I'm sure we are referring to.
Yes.
So the placement process is done by 3 main modules. First of all, we will look at the automatic placement system. That one is purely automated, where the system has been programmed to produce such an outcome. So, I mean, if you pass, first of all, it's gender sensitive. It also looks at compare your grade to other students, and of course look at the vacancies that are available, and then comparing, just opposing with your residential status and other variables, including the program of choice that places you. That one is automatically programmed and no human interface is required. But of course, we also go beyond that. At some point, you may also have a manual placement regime. Manual placement usually happens when the secretariat is dealing with students with special needs. And sometimes we may also look at categories like seminarians who may have some defined or laid down criteria in getting admission. So a lot of times, these are schools which may do their own interviews, select their students, then they bring it to the CSSPS Secretariat for ratification, and then we program it. So those ones are manually done. You may be looking at school for the blind, schools with special needs. Those ones are also manually done.
Does special needs include protocol persons, party members, and all that?
Not really, not really. I mean, that's why I said that you look at the manual placement. So the manual placement, you have that option, and of course, there is also an option within the manual placement where 5% of declared vacancies in every school is given to the stakeholders of the school. So for instance, let me give you a school like Presec Legon as an example.
Okay.
You have the stakeholders, the founders, the owners of the school, being the Presby mission or Presby missionary. At the end of the day, the expectation is that if the Presby mission, the old boys, may want some admission to go to their end, that is recognized. 5% of all declared vacancies goes to them. So I may not know who it ends up with. Okay. It could end up with a politician, it could end up with a journalist, it could end up with a presenter, it could end up with a PRO. is allowed, where 5% of declared vacancies is given to the stakeholders of the school. That's also part of the manual placement arrangement. So again, it explains why you may be hearing that, well, somebody had grade 12, she had Presec, or he had Presec, I had grade 6, I did not get it. It's possible that such a person became a beneficiary of the 5% allocation that has been designated to the stakeholders of the school in terms of the declared vacancies. Again, you move from there, then you come to what we call self-placement. Self-placement occurs or happens when, after the automatic placement has been done, you fail to make any of your 6 choices. When you fail to make any of your 6 choices, the Ministry of Education or the Ghana Education Service or the CSSPS Secretariat will not impose a school on you. What happens is that we give you an opportunity to go onto our platform, our website, then make a school of your choice. So you go, you enter your index number. Of course, the system only is aware of the grade that you had, the total marks that you had, have your details in terms of the residential status and whether it's boarding or day. Then there are lists of schools that they will pop up based on your grade, and then you make a choice from it. So in short, if you look at the placement modules, we have the automatic placement, which is engineered into a software, and then it runs and places students. Largely, a lot of the placement is done there. You move from the automatic placement. If you fail to obtain a choice, any of your choice, then you come to the self-placement, where you go to the portal and select a school of your choice. Beyond the self-placement, then you come to what we call the manual placement. Manual placement are for, like what I said, students in needs and special students, and those within the other categories that the school may have its own criteria, particularly those seminarians. And of course, within the manual placement, 5% of allocation is given to the stakeholders. Right. But of course, that is after the selection process has been done.
Completed. Yeah. Right. I know that for you watching us, you have a lot of questions to ask. I'm receiving a lot of messages, people having concerns. So you can call us. The numbers will be placed on your screens shortly. Let us know what your concerns are about this placement, new placement system that has been not entirely new, but there are a few novel portions of it. We are being told that you will be taken through that process. You should expect a video by this week, right?
Yeah, by this week, yeah.
By this week. So if you just completed BEC, be on the lookout. Will all the students be required to go back to their schools? Because you mentioned that the directorate will have to take them through. So if I'm a parent and I have access to the video, how exactly would they be organized?
You don't necessarily have to. The video, you may go and watch it in person.
Okay.
In your school. Those ones, the ministry together with GS have liaised with the GS officers at the district
Will
level.
it be on social media?
Yeah, you go to www.freeshs.net.com. The video is there where you can watch. So like I said, the Free SHS website, you also have the video where you can watch. But the only additions is the cluster system that is quite novel. Other than that, the number of schools that you are supposed to select remains the same. C schools, category A, category B, category C school.
So what about people in communities that struggle to access technology?
Yeah, arrangements have been made for them through their district offices to show them the video. But of course, this is in addition to what we have already been doing. The sensitization process is being done. Our personnel are on the ground throughout this week to engage them, GS refer to some officers as CISOs. They are trained to explain the entire process to them. The register is delivered at the school level. Students are encouraged to visit there. In terms of the selection process, they are reminded to also do or collaborate with their parents, the teachers, and themselves to be able to go through a very enhanced and effective process. So plans are far advanced. Arrangements have been made at the district and the school level. This is only just a top-up, that in terms of students who may not probably be willing to go to the schools to watch the video, you go to the free SHS website and you download the video or you watch it yourself.
Right. So you can call us 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. We have a first caller from Tripoli. Hello, Abdul. How are you doing? Let's hear your question.
That they can consider some of these rural community students to be able to be put into some of the schools.
Abdul, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you quite well. Can you reduce the volume on your TV set? We are getting some terrible feedback. This is just for all of you who wish to call us. Kindly put your television on mute or turn it off completely so that we can hear you properly. Hello, Abdul. Let's try again. Hopefully we hear you.
Yes, what I was saying is, I want to ask Piero if there is an opportunity for children in the rural community, because I heard him mentioning that they do the placement based on their raw score. You realize that schools in the big cities have enough teachers, enough materials to be able to train their children to meet such a requirement. But when you go to the rural community, you will have a junior high school with 1 teacher or 2 teachers handle all the 8 subjects. And they will not be able to get such a good raw score to be placed in the first 12 schools. So I want to know whether there is this opportunity where they can bring some of these rural community students to also get access to these qualities. Because when you look at it, they are actually good, but lack of material and other things that you may not see them getting the required raw score.
Right, Abdul, thank you very much. So Mr. Kwating has a response.
Okay, so like I indicated, the placement is not entirely based on raw score, but it's only when there is a tie where raw score becomes a necessity, when your grade have to be, compared to somebody's grade before you are placed. You look at variables like your residential status, the program, of course, your raw score, and the grade that you had. But of course, as to the question about whether or not, we recognize and give some priority to students coming from the rural areas, apparently the current policy is that 30% of all declared vacancies, especially in the category A schools, have been reserved from students coming from the public schools. It's just an equity motivated or equity-driven policy.
But do you understand that the public schools, like he's saying, if you're in a public school in Accra or Kumasi, that is probably well served than a place like Tripoli, because we've been to Tripoli before. We know what happens there and the kind of quality that is served the kids there. So is there opportunity for people who are coming from such areas to also say we'll give them a quota? We appreciate that maybe due to issues like conflict or lack of materials, lack of logistics, lack of teachers, they may not. It will be unfair to put them toe to toe with people in the urban areas. In
raw fact, if you look at the disparity on which a decision ought to be made as to whether or not you are giving some leverage or some advantage, is largely centered on private and public-run schools.
Okay.
It's not necessarily location-based. Because we are looking at it from location-based, it's the same number of GS staff that is taken to Tripoli. The same number of GS staff will also be taken to Kumasi, probably any government schools there. So in terms of the government school, the resources is almost the same. Of course, we cannot say that it will absolutely be the same or the same in terms of absolute terms, but it's almost the same. But
Mr. Kwating, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm just picturing what I saw in Tripoli in my mind, and I cannot accept that it will be the same with a public school here in Accra.
Of course, I have not said it's the same. I'm just saying
almost the same.
I'm saying that the role disparity lies in students having education from the private space or private schools as compared to those within the public schools. So that's where currently the policy is. But of course, all other discussions relative to, in terms of even among the government, even with this one, we are having some stiff opposition from the leadership of the private schools, where they feel that it poses some unfair advantage to those in public schools and what have you. So yes, I mean, along the way, it could be a consideration, but the current policy is that students from the public schools, in terms of access to those category A schools, that is the overly subscribed schools, about 86 of them, 30% allocation has already been made for them.
We have another caller from Japan. Hello, Kunde, let's hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In education, we have what we refer to as placement. And the discussion over here, I don't know whether a room is created for those who should go to vocational or technical schools, and those who should go to pure secondary schools geared towards pure academic work in the university.
Right, Kunde, I think Mr. Kwating has addressed that. Yeah, they all go through the same placement process, but for those who want to go to the NVTIs, for example.
The Tvet schools, that's Tvet, sorry. This time around, about 212 of them. Is largely the same process, just that you have to select those schools, especially if you want to go to Australia or you want to do Australia Tvet. What it means is that you have to select for all your 6 choices, the Tvet schools. In terms of the Tvet school, these are the vocational schools. We also have the categorizations, category A, category B, category C, and the category D, which almost same explanation that are offered to the general senior high school education also applies.
Right. And you mentioned some STEM schools. So is it that there's a list of schools attached to the forms that will be downloaded or picked up from the various schools that these students completed from? How do they know the choices of schools available to them? Yeah,
there is a register that is attached to the selection form.
Okay.
So students have access to the register at the schools level. And like I indicated, www.freeshs.net, the website, access to the video, and the register is also there where students can actually go there and download themselves. But of course, if you go to all your schools, there is there.
And it includes mainstream, Tvet, and the STEM.
Yeah,
the STEM
schools. The STEM schools, this year we are looking at Bosometry Girls, Abomasu STEM, Kwasi STEM, Pesempe, and Awaso STEM. These are all newly built schools, but of course they are just science-oriented, purely going to do science career pathways programs. You look at engineering, aerospace engineering. These are all STEM career pathways.
Right. Okay. And these schools, do they have residential facilities? Or?
Yeah, they have.
They
have. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're watching us and you have a child who has shown interest in STEM, you may want to consider these schools that have just been put up so that you can help your child find an easy path to their career. So once the completion is done, when are the students expected to submit the forms and who do they submit them to?
I think it's between 31st of this month to the 18th of November. That's where the selection process is expected to be completed. So after the process is done, it's presented to the school level. So the GHS where the students enroll, that's where they have to present the forms. Their teachers are around to assess them in terms of even filling the forms, because there is a portion where parents are even supposed to sign to attest that they were part of the process.
Right.
I mean, so often at times after the placement process, you get a parent saying that I was not aware. So it's a more reason why in times like this, using mediums like this, we will also encourage parents to be part of the process and not necessarily be passive watchers of the process. They should really get themselves actively in the process, make sure they pick their forms together with their words from the school. If they are unable to, they can pick the selection form online, fill it together with their students. Of course, I mean, in terms of if they need further explanations and advices, they can contact GS office locally or even their schools. Their teachers will be able to assess the students' performance and of course, I mean, together with the parents and the kids themselves, know the career pathway that they want to do before they are able to make selection. After that, the forms are presented to the head teacher of the school, who then in turn facilitates to WAEC, and then the process compilation is done for annual placement.
Okay, it's submitted to WAEC, not the Ministry of Education.
No, apparently there is a WAEC office and there is a website where they upload.
Okay.
If you look at the data, the raw data comes from WAEC. But I mean, they have that level of collaboration with the CSSPA Secretariat.
Okay.
It's the Secretariat that actually does the placement, not the ministry per se.
Interesting. All right. We have another caller from Ho. Hello, Bismarck. Let's hear you. Hello, Bismarck.
Hello.
Good morning. Let's hear you, please.
My problem is about I'm on the line, please. Yeah, my problem is about Tvet. I'm one who attended technical school. I went to technical school not because I was not good in the classroom. I went to technical school because of a choice. But the problem I had was that because we didn't write exams like English and math as a subject, we were finding it difficult at some point in life. Though we had a chances to work, but that thing worried us too much. So I would like the authorities who are trying to make Tvet attractive to find a way so that they can write English and math as a separate paper. So that because mostly when you go to technical or vocational school, doesn't mean you don't know anything. But wherever you go, they'll be asking you English and math, English and math. So I would like them to find means and then let people who attend technical and vocational schools have a subject, a written subject, English and math, have a certificate on it so that at least when they go to places to go and look for work or other things, they will know that it isn't that because they are not good. That is why they went to technical school. I suffered it.
Sorry about that, Bismarck. Thank you so much for calling us. So clearly a real life example here. So how do we handle
I really do not know the time where he offered his program and completed the school. But I mean, recently, the current position is that initially, what we had was about 35 different institutions placed under 19 different ministries, doing their own things in terms of the vocational education. As part of the Education Bodies Regulatory Act, Tvet service was established, which is now a fully fledged agency, fully operational, established to address Tvet issues, and then define a framework for Tvet education. As I speak with you, Tvet is a fully fledged organization, institution, doing their own thing. They offer the normal analogous programs that you may know, English, mathematics, integrated science, in addition to the vocational aspect. I'm sure it's even the more reason why last year, for instance, a lot of subscription went there. Now, they have their Director General, the Deputy Director Generals, all really working in terms of the Tvet space. So now if you look at Tvet, it's also like another GES. Unlike initially where you had Tvet, all these concerns have been addressed.
So Bismarck, you had the PRO for yourself. So I have a question. This one was sent in by a teacher concerning the integrated science paper for the BEC students. I don't know if you've seen on social media, quite a number of people have raised concerns. So when they're saying that, so let me read verbatim. He says, we can't be projecting STEM education and at the same time subjecting our kids to these questions to be answered within 75 minutes. It simply doesn't add up. The questions were overloaded and posed excessive stress on the students. The question 1, being the test of practical, is equivalent to what is done at SHS level as integrated science 3, which is a separate 2-hour paper. Have you seen the concerns raised about the integrated science paper?
I went for monitoring in the Asante Achem district. Apparently, they were writing integrated science, but I never heard such concerns. I want to believe that the examiners who set the questions will not go beyond the standard measure. I'm here to hear, the general outcry. It could be an isolated incident, but of course, it is something that we'll consider, we'll alert WAEC on. It's an independent body that makes or conducts the examination, of course, with content from the syllabus. is not really under the ministry, but it's something that I'm sure WAEC even probably have picked the signals, but we're also going to communicate to them so that if indeed that is the case, they may also have to look at it going forward.
All right. So we have our final caller, I believe, Deladem from Pupa. Say hello, Dela. Oh, too bad. We lost Deladem there. So briefly in wrapping up, you run us through the automatic placement, but how do parents go through the self-placement process just in case their wards or children are not able to get a school through the automatic placement system?
Yeah, so as of now, what is most important is for them to, first of all, understand the selection process, the new additions being the cluster system, and also understand that if they indicate that they want a cluster, what it means is that if they miss out on that very option, alternative schools within that particular cluster will be assigned to them if they select cluster. But of course, beyond that, the expectation is that after the selection process, they will be placed using the automatic placement model. If they fail to secure placement, that is not the end. What it means is that we do not want to impose a choice on you as a secretariat.
Right.
And then we give you an option. You go to our website, you enter your details, which is your index number, list of schools that corresponds or tally with the grade that you had. Of course, is also, in terms of you select the region that you may want to go, list of schools will pop up, then you select. It's that very easy process. But this year, we want to reduce the self-placement as much as possible. It is a more reason why we've introduced the cluster system. So that if you select Wegehe and you indicate cluster, and you do not get Wegehe, what you are telling us is that if there is a space in the Brugels, we should put you there. Okay. If there is space in Mfantsman, we should put you there.
All right. So, so what's the point of having the cluster system if the person has 6 options? I'll come to that. But let's take our last caller, Anthony from Bubuashi. Hello, Anthony. Let's hear you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my problem is I want to ask the PRO if I want to know the cutoff point for the, how do you call it, the vocational system, and then the system that he was talking about. And secondly, I want to find out if your ward having to have a placement last year. Is it possible that you can have a placement this year?
Right. Thank you very much, Anthony. They're really, really important questions.
Starting from the question on the cutoff point. Last year, for instance, the criteria was that if you fail to obtain both English and mathematics, we give you an opportunity to go and resit for the BEC again, of course at the ministry's cost. If you fail only English and pass mathematics, much attention is given to the core subjects. If you fail only English and pass mathematics, we give you an opportunity to justify yourself in any of the choices that you made, going forward in any of the SHS schools that you want to go, or Tvet schools. So largely, maths or English, if you fail one of them, you are given an option to justify yourself.
Okay.
But if you fail both, then we give you an opportunity to go and rewrite the BEC. So last year, that was the criteria. We do not have a cutoff point in terms of an number.
Aggregate.
Yeah, or an aggregate, yeah.
All right.
In terms of,
so the focus is on English and maths and ensuring that...
Because those are the basis and the foundations of
all right. Okay.
I think he asked a follow-up question.
Yes, that one was about what you can do if you didn't get a placement last year.
Yeah. There is an opportunity for re-entry. You go to the GES office and pick a form. Well, a lot of students, I'm not sure they did not get placement, but they were placed but probably failed to pick up their placement. Of course, due to a lot of reasons that may be very peculiar to them or personal to them. There is also an option for you, so far as you've passed the BEC and you qualify or eligible to be placed. You walk to the GES office or you go to the freeshs.net, the website. There is a form for re-entry. You fill it and then submit at the GES office. There is even an option for international students, but I'm sure that when you have to walk to the ministry or GES at the national level, pick a form, you fill it, and also you'll be considered for the subsequent placement. So all arrangements are...
Right. So we'll be wrapping up shortly, but back to my question about the cluster system and whether or not it defeats the whole purpose of having options. So you have the opportunity to choose 6 schools. Yeah. Yet we are introducing a cluster system. Yeah. So I choose Mfantsman Girls. And when I choose Mfantsman Girls, I say cluster option. That is to say, if I don't get Mfantsman, you you can post me to any school within the category of Infanta.
Yeah.
But I have 5 more options.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that work? I'm just...
Yeah, so what you have to understand is that you may probably have had grade 6. You miss out on your first choice. You should be considered ordinarily for your second choice. Always record that your second choice is also somebody's first choice. It's possible you missed out there. Your third choice, it's possible you missed out there. It's even the more reason why a lot of people also go to the self-placement model, where they miss out on any of their choices. So imagine a student getting 6 and missing out on all their choices, especially at a time where there is a possibility that the category A schools could even be full.
Yeah.
The experience that we've had over the years in terms of this placement has been that if somebody selects St. Peter's and he does not get St. Peter's and you give him an option of Opokuare, it's likely the person will pick it up. So why don't you give such a student that first option, even in the first place, especially where there could be vacancies within those schools? Because first of all, the cluster system is not compulsory.
Okay.
You can indicate that St. Peter's, you don't, beyond St. Peter's, you don't want any other school. Then you'll be taken through the normal process. The cluster system is only another advantage if you want to put it in that perspective.
Okay. So help me understand. At my time, I could choose, for example, Achimota first choice, Achimota second choice, Achimota third choice. But I know through interactions with the ministry that subsequently students could not do that.
Yeah, you're able to
chose one school from a category A school, it meant that you couldn't choose any other school again. Yeah. It had to be from different categories as as your options dwindle to the set point. So that's why the cluster is important. And so is a cluster only for category A schools, or you can choose a cluster for any of your options?
It's for any of the options. But remember, the cluster does not cover all schools. The cluster is limited to some selected number of schools, which is predominantly region-based.
Okay.
So for instance, if you select Presec Legon, it's possible you may have about 4 or 5 schools within the cluster of Presec Legon. You come to Konogo Udmase, you can get up to 8 cluster of schools within Konogo Udmase. If you select yes, essentially what they are telling us is that if you do not get Konogo Udmase, you should be considered for Kumasi Anglican, or you should be considered for Osei Tutu, or you should be considered for other equally category B schools. So that's what the cluster whole arrangement is. But like I indicated, people may also be that very confident, not necessarily confident per se, but people may want a particular school. They say that Wegehe, if I don't get Wegehe, don't give me any school within that cluster. Consider me for my category B, my second choice school. Okay. If I also don't get it, consider it for my third choice. People may also opt for that, and that is also allowed. Is that, to give students more opportunity in terms of being placed, automatically, that is the key word, because the placement can even be done by self. That is a self-placement. Automatically, we give the option of the cluster to also assist students.
Right. So you had the Kwesi Kwarteng. He is PRO of the Ministry of Education, giving us some explanations on what to expect in this year's placement system. You know that students completed the PECE on Friday. We've heard quite a lot. If you missed out on any point of this conversation, just get back onto our Facebook page. You will be furnished with all the details that you need to know. But the most important thing is to remember that the Free Senior High School free SHS, please remind us about www.freeshs.net. Yeah. You will find the forms there that you need to fill and the video to get into a senior high school. And then there will be a video for you to teach you the process of doing that, because there are a few additions and novelties this time. For those of you who live in places where you don't have access to the internet or technology, your district education office will help you out. And so just stay alert and stay glued to your TV sets as well. The Ministry of Education will be running a few more of these educational programs for you to know what's happening. But thank you so much for joining us this morning. Kwesi Kwarteng speaks for the Ministry of Education. Not talking about education, I don't know if you watched any of the semi-final contest yesterday. I did, and it was interesting. The real shocker was at Isadel College. I just realized I'm in black and white. It's not deliberate. I went to Infantuman Girls, and so our boys' school is at Isadel. Honestly, I just realized that I am in black and white, and that's to support at Isadel College. Not intentional though, but I mean, it's okay if I throw my weight behind them. But theirs was a real surprise because they went into the semi-finals with the lowest score, yet they upset Ogasco, which had a really high score going into the semi-finals. We'll be back to have that conversation shortly. But hello, Ghana. Happy moment is here. Let's storm Qatar this World Cup with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water. Text the 4-digit unique number in the neck of the bottle to short code *780#2 and follow the prompt on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. Don't waste time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions apply. We'll be back shortly. Do stay.